What's up, internet? This is Linger22. So I saw this thing online from GameDaily.biz, and it looks like they interviewed Sega, and they asked them about those subscription services and why doesn't Sega make their own? I mean, they had one like back then. They're like, I guess they're the OGs of the subscription service, and that was Sega Channel. But before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys that if you are into discussion videos much like this one, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll be back with more. But back to the topic. So in this interview, it is interesting because John Clark, the Sega Europe executive vice president, actually kind of stated that or I guess the company has no interest in making their own subscription model, and instead would rather join up or team up with some other partners that have their own subscription models. And before I get into why they not should, but maybe could make their own subscription service, I do want to stress that I actually like that answer, and I appreciate that they're not just gonna try to create some subscription model that's like $15 a month, kind of like, I think it's Ubisoft, that it's like, do you guys really deserve that $15 a month? And like, I'm glad that they're kind of taking a wait and see approach. It's like they want to test the waters, but they also don't want to screw people over. But then again, they are a company, and naturally companies want to screw people over. But let's not get into that today. Now let's ask, could Sega start their own subscription model? And if you look at a couple of facts, they probably could. And the first thing you think of is Sega has many IP and has a huge backlog. So yeah, Sega has a huge intellectual property, like just tons of them. Like they have Sonic, Echo the Dolphin, they have all these things. So yeah, they if they were to start a subscription service, they already have Sega Master System games, Sega Genesis games, they have Sega Saturn games, Sega Dreamcast games. Then they have Sega Game Gear game. They could like kind of dig around and get some of their Sega Pico games. Maybe they can turn those into digital just so they can boost up their library. Then they have all those third-party games that came out on a bunch of different systems after the Dreamcast. They have, of course, their arcade library. And I haven't even got into all the companies that Sega has acquired. 3 examples of companies that they have acquired just to build up their portfolio is Technosoft. They acquired them to get the Thunder Force franchise, which is the Sega Genesis franchise, I believe. And then there's 2 Point Studios, which is like a little indie studio that made 2 Point Hospital. Never played the game, but apparently people say it's good. And then, of course, the big name Atlas. And that's not even all. That's just all the ones that I could think of, maybe off the top of my head. But yeah, they actually have a huge list of games. So they can actually put a library together quickly. There's not much thought that has to be put into it. They could probably take a trickle down approach, which I hope they don't do, because I hate when companies do that. But sometimes people do that just so they can keep their little subscription thing alive. Like, oh, here's a new game this week, even though they could have just all released it in one day, because it's just all ROMs, right? Now, because Sega as a brand is not as big as it used to be, I would think it would be a better idea for them to maybe make it a lower cost type subscription model. So maybe from the $5 to $10 a month range, maybe more like the $5 a month range. Or what they could do is kind of an idea that I thought of. If I were Sega, I would probably do a beta and make it very clear that it's beta, and in the very beginning tell them like, maybe for the first year it's gonna be $5, and then as we do this we'll figure out how much the actual cost will be, and be kind of transparent about it, because these days the internet is not stupid. If you do something to screw people over, they will know and they will notice. So be kind of honest. And if they had a subscription model, it would be a good way to sell merch. And they have a merch store, and it seems to be doing fairly well, since I keep seeing, like, not advertisements, but I keep seeing people talking about what products are up there. So in their little subscription application or whatever, they could literally just have merchandise literally right next to where the game is played. So they may not make money off of the game, but they'll make money off the stuff attached to the game. So there's actually areas of making money off of it. And then, of course, you can do what Xbox One Game Pass does, and if you want to buy the game, you can buy it at a discounted price, and that's actually kind of a win-win for any of the Sega fans, because if you want some merch, that might be a good way to have it and play the games. So you can like literally pay for a subscription so you're supporting Sega and telling them that you want to play these classic games, and then you're buying merch on top of that to support that specific game and get something back that's like physical or tangible or whatever. Now, bonus points if they actually add modern retro games. So if they get any like those like retro games that were made in like recently, like, you know how a lot of like these indie developers are releasing games for the Dreamcast or the Sega Genesis, I'm not sure if any came out for the Saturn, but that'd be really cool. That would be great if those just kind of like dropped in the subscription. Like, just imagine like this game that was made in 2017 for the Sega Genesis is now also part of their subscription package. Like, that seems really cool to me. Once again, I'm glad that they're not doing this. This is just kind of like a, let's be hypothetical today. And if the time ever comes up where it would be beneficial for us for them to make a subscription service, then I would want that to happen. And it would also be great if, like, as I was saying, you could buy merch. Maybe you can buy the physical game that way. Like, you play, for example, Rystar, and the subscription service, and you're thinking like, I want to add that to my collection. What if there was a way to buy a physical copy of that? Or I don't know if they would reprint the game, but it's an interesting thing to brainstorm. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Sega still has the weight to do something like that, or do you think that they're better off doing what they're doing and taking the wait and see approach and just working with partners? Let me know down below. Just a reminder, if you do enjoy content like this, please subscribe and I will make more content. I'll see you guys next time.